Friendship is a brand new film that was picked up at a lot of festivals, some pretty big ones in 2024, and then got its wider release in 2025 as per usual, and you can catch it streaming now. And this was directed and written by Andrew DeYoung, and it stars Tim Robinson, Paul Rudd, and Kate Mara. And it's a black comedy, more on the comedy side, but a very specific type of humor and stuff that I heard a lot of good things about in reviews from well-respected YouTubers of mine. And it's funny that one of the biggest things I've heard about this film is Tim Robinson. And I would say everybody that I heard has never heard of his, heard speak about this movie, has never heard of Tim Robinson's previous work. Same as me. I've never heard of the guy, and I've never, seen his comedy kind of thing. But apparently he's already made a name for himself, and he has a specific brand of comedy, and you're on board or you're not. That's the main gist that I've heard from everybody. Nobody knows who this guy is, and he has a very specific type of comedy that you either like or don't. And I thought for that reason he probably wrote and directed this film himself, but he did not. He just stars in it with Paul Rudd and Kate Mara, of course. Kate Mara plays his wife, and Tim Robinson's character's name is Craig, and the wife's named there I go, blanking on the name again. Kate Mara plays. I literally just looked it up. It's Craig and Tammy, I think. And then Paul Rudd plays Austin. So I got some names right this time. But Craig is a very just not introvert, but he's very socially awkward. Think Brendan Fraser in Bedazzled. He's just says awkward things, does awkward things, doesn't know how to socialize whatsoever. He's a friendly guy, and there are times where he just is nice to people and not be awkward, and the people are just like, yeah, whatever. But then there's times where it's like, yeah, sometimes you say some shit that's kind of odd. So, anyways, he meets this neighbor of his in his neighborhood. He's about to sell his house. Craig is with his wife, played by Kate Mara. So they're about to sell their home, but because there was a package delivered to the wrong door, he takes it to one of the neighbors, played by Paul Rudd, named Austin, and then they just have a quick conversation, and Austin asks him over for a drink that night to hang out with some friends, and his wife encourages him to, and he's hesitant. He'd rather go watch a Marvel movie, and there is a lot of running jokes with Marvel in this film, which I did find pretty funny. He goes and he has a great time. He loves this guy. He finds this guy very intriguing. This guy's in a band. He seems like he has a really fun, interesting life. Of course, he has some quirks of his own, but regardless, this ends up being a situation where Craig kind of makes the entire situation with all of Austin and his friends awkward, and he I'm not going to get into details, but there's some really funny scenes, and it just feels to me like the humor that I see, because this is the first thing I've seen Tim Robinson in, is he feels like kind of like an Adam Sandler type humor if Adam Sandler has had a much more dry British kind of humor, is what I find. I didn't love his humor. It's not fully for me. I'm not like, oh my gosh, this is the funniest comedian I've ever seen. But there were times that I definitely laughed out loud, and I delayed laugh a lot. There's a lot of moments in this movie where I'm just sitting there for a good 5 seconds, and then I just burst out laughing because I just spat everywhere. And then I just burst out laughing because it just starts to click in. It's just like, oh my god, because everything is just so awkward, and he's the most awkward in the film. But there's awkward characters all over. Paul Rudd has his own. The wife has her own. Craig and his wife have a son too. There's awkward moments with them, and hilarity ensues. A lot of people compare this film to I Love You Man, except much more aggressive. And Craig definitely starts to get an obsession with Austin, and that's where the story goes. Is his It's like Banshees of Inisherin situation where one doesn't want to be friends anymore, but the other one can't let it go. Which we've all been, in we've all been in that situation in different levels, kind of thing. Whether they're extreme or whether they're small. Like he's basically not understanding what he did wrong, essentially. Like he doesn't understand his own social awkwardness. But it was a fun film. I thought it was quite well written and very uniquely directed. I don't know Michael Shanks. Sorry, I don't know Andrew DeYoung's filmography either. I was going to say Michael Shanks because I literally just reviewed Together, but yeah, I haven't seen his filmography either, so I don't know anything about their history. But this black comedy type film is one of the most unique I've ever seen, and it's worth a watch just for that. Like it definitely has a lot of different humor and unique kinds of gags that you don't typically see. And I brought up Adam Sandler mainly because Adam Sandler has his own shtick, and I think from what I hear that Tim Robinson is exactly the same with his own shtick, where every comedian really has their own shtick at the end of the day. Like, you know what to expect at like a Dave Chappelle show. You know what to expect at Bill Burr. It's kind of that same thing. I like Paul Rudd in this film. There's something that happens with Paul Rudd that I found hilarious, specifically, but he's an interesting character when you see him in this film compared to other things you see him in because of many reasons. But I'm gonna not spoil this too much. Well, I'm trying not to spoil it at all, but of course I'll get into some minor details, just minor ones. But yeah, definitely a recommendation. This one got a 4 out of 5 for me, and because of its specific, unique type of humor, I suggest just giving it a shot from there. But it's going to split you. Some people won't laugh at all. I've heard some people are just like, I don't get this, and then some people are just laughing their asses off at this guy, and I was somewhere in the middle. Like I was just kind of stone faced for a lot of things, and then there was other things where I'm just like, and then it just builds on me, like I said, and I'm like, that's actually really funny. um, yeah, and I wish I could like get more into specific scenes because it's moments that happen that are literally funny, and then there's his wife Tammy. It's Tammy, I'm pretty sure, played by Kate Mara. In, Interesting stuff happens with her character, and she's likable for the most part, like 80%. Then she'll do some things that you start to question, but for the most part, she's funny and she's nice and she has her own awkwardness too. But there's some stuff from every character that's in this film that is on some level awkward. Like there's no character that's never awkward. Every character is awkward at some point on different levels, on different scales. Being Craig, played by Tim Robinson, as the most awkward. The person that nobody can be like, nobody can keep around. Or, at some point, he's the guy where at some point or another, everybody's just gonna be like, okay, that's enough. You're just way too fucking weird. Again, with these spoiler-free reviews, one day I hope like to own them if they ever get released, and then I can give like a deep dive on them because this is the kind of film that I could do a 45-minute to an hour deep dive on because it has a lot to say. It does have a lot to say on top of the humor. Of course it does get not comedic because it is a black comedy. There is some drama, but very very little. And the dramatic scenes, they don't last too long before they start making you laugh again with awkward moments, especially because the comedy comes so far after, like soon after, and it just turns your whole mood around where it shifts, kind of thing. I hope I'm describing that well enough, and I hope that I've given you the interest to watch this film if you haven't checked it out yet. But it is a unique one from 2024 and 2025, and I recommend seeing it. So now that it's streaming, go find it somewhere and subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back with more soon, so stay tuned for those. Check out what's on the channel already. Stay tuned for what's coming. Until next review, have a good one. Take care and cheers.